Okay, everybody, thank you for being here live. It's so great to see some of your faces. So here we are. This is our first official coaches check-in. So the reason that we started these calls is we really wanted to have a space that was apart from Living Wild Fit, where coaches could ask questions about their own struggles with the sugar monster, about their seasonal ratios, all of those things, where we are still working on it as coaches, because of course none of us is perfect. We're all looking for progress, but we really want a space where we can talk about those things, offer each other suggestions, maybe get some suggestions from more experienced coaches, so that it's differentiated from our clients' space. And in that way, by separating those conversations, we can assert ourselves as leaders in the Living Wild Fit space. So maybe potentially not showing up in those calls with the same kind of questions as our clients are having. So we sensed a need for that for anyone who was on the mastermind last call. We were talking about taking our clients through spring, and it was a really great conversation. There were lots of questions. So it's really awesome to have the opportunity to do these calls once a month and ask those kinds of questions here. So that's what the space is for, your personal growth as a Living Wild Fit tribe member, and any issues with content that you're having with your clients. So if it's more of the tech stuff or more of the building your business stuff, that's not what this space is going to be. Tech is still directed to support at getwildfit.com. And the business building stuff is more through the masterminds that are happening monthly. But so this space is just purely content related as much as possible. And it's going to be similar to the check-in calls that we do through Living Wild Fit. So myself and the lovely and wonderful Petra Ivan are going to be leading these calls. We're going to be going one-for-one with that. But we're going to be leading the conversation, answering some of the questions, but we would love it also to be a space where we can have conversations amongst the coaches and really open up that space. If someone has a question about, it's just coming to my mind now, type 1 diabetes, and how was it working with that client? And then like maybe a coach can step in with some wonderful experiences that they've just recently had. So having it be like a fireside kind of chat in addition to that. So I'm really excited. I know that Petra is really excited. And before I go over to her to just say hello and welcome, I want to cover some housekeeping details. So a couple of changes have been made to the membership portal on your back end. So the first thing is that you guys now have a corporate package in there. We're really excited that that has been opened up. So there is a full handbook in there that you can access for reaching out to those larger groups and corporate clients. So this is a whole new aspect of your coaching. Some coaches are already doing this and they're doing it really well. They're rocking it. For other people, maybe you're just getting started and you don't know what that looks like. So the handbook is meant to help you in the facilitation of that. If you have questions about that, of course, reach out to support to guide you through. And we can also talk about that in the mastermind group as we move forward. The other thing is you probably noticed another new button, and it's like the 12-week foundation button. So that is because, and I think this is just a reminder for you, we've changed up the coaching certification and added more value. There's going to be 6 more weeks on that certification, and the syntax has changed a little bit. And we wanted all of the coaches to be able to access the content of those calls. A lot of it has already been covered through our past masterminds as a smaller group. But as we take on more coaches, we kind of wanted to create this synergy. You've already accessed it through the masterminds. They're going to be getting access to the masterminds. they are getting these additional 6 weeks of coaching through their certification. We want you to be able to benefit from that as well. So hopefully that can all merge together in a really wonderful synergy. If you have questions about what's coming up in the 12-week foundation, of course, ask in the Facebook group. And myself and maybe Jackie, because we are both the main facilitators, in addition to Andrea, can answer your questions about the content there. Pamela, I will get to your question in a second, but I want to just head over to Petra so she can say hello and a nice warm welcome as well.
Yes, hi everyone, and I am really I am really happy and grateful to be here with you. Everything that Ariel already said, and the only thing I would like to add is that if you had gone through the certification program in the past, you might have had a chance to have like a support call with me or a check-in call with me. And so the fact that this call is happening is actually a combination of many things. And like what you, Ariel, already shared, there is a need for us to continue the conversation and stay on the same page as coaches, as well as there is a need for somewhere to come to where I have a question about this. And so over the past couple of years, if you had a check-in session during your trial class, this is going to be very similar to that. So it's an opportunity for you to maybe bring things that you still want to understand better, but also an opportunity if you're supporting clients to bring that to this group and say, with all the confidentiality, that I've got a client, this is what they're going through, and I would like support around that. So this is the perfect place to do that as well. And yes, we will be take the calls in turn. So today is the first one, and we're both here, and then we will support you like one after the other. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's great to have you.
Awesome. Thank you, Petra. So I'm going to be taking the lead on questions here because we're both here. Petra is going to jump in with her awesome knowledge, and then she will be taking the lead on the February 27th call. So who has some questions or a conversation prompt that they would like to bring up in regard to their coaching? Pamela, you have an awesome new group starting. You're doing a WildFit 2.0, and I think that that is so amazing, and it's really necessary. And I love that you are the first one to take the lead on that, and I think that so many other coaches can really benefit from your feedback on how that went, and really kind of keeping all of our clients moving through their journey with us. So congratulations for that launch.
Thank you. It actually is kind of more like a WildFit 1.25 because it's really fundamentals. It's almost like a little bit more of the Back to Spring, but people didn't really want to start at where the Back to Spring program begins. So, but thank you very much.
Regardless, I'm thrilled for you. I think it's awesome.
My question is, people love to ask about the problem with hair loss, and we've talked a little bit about it, and I have some things to write about. But like, is there certain foods that we can suggest to promote new hair growth? That kind of stuff. How do we verbally coach them through that challenge?
So, what I have found, and you can tell me the demographic that this is affecting for you, but these questions are usually coming from women who are kind of pre to post menopausal, maybe have a little bit of excess weight that they're looking to release, so probably went really far into deep spring. And generally it's from vegetarians. I've noticed that a lot of East Indian women in particular are encountering this issue. And it's a little bit different than alopecia, Brenda. It's mostly people that I've seen through Mind Valley Quests, actually, who have had alopecia. They find that their hair starts growing back once a lot of common allergens are removed and their immunity grows stronger. But this is more like the trend that I've seen is women who have a lot of weight that they want to release. So they go really deep into spring, potentially are eating a lower calorie intake than they ought to be, focusing more on lots of greens than having lots of fats, and maybe not enough protein. And then staying in spring, deep spring, for an extended period of time. So often when we renew all of our tissues, hair also gets renewed. Nails get renewed. Sometimes people with heavy metal poisoning, a history of like heavy alcohol use and things like that, they can lose their fingernails or their toenails. Like some weird stuff can happen when the body gets the resources that it needs to rebuild. And our hair and our nails are more like protective tissues in a primal sense, right? Keeps us warm and allows us to claw at the dirt and walk around without shoes. So it's really important that those tissues are strong if we're going to survive or have a higher level of survival. So the body takes it as an opportunity to renew those tissues when we have more access to minerals. But what can also happen is that a person is not properly nourishing themselves through the program, especially in spring, and the body perceives it as starvation. And when that starvation is perceived, it's like, okay, I don't have resources for these tissues, so I'm not going to focus on growth there. I'm going to focus on making sure that the organs stay healthy. So of course, we don't want to shame our clients and say, you didn't eat enough and you didn't stay healthy enough, and now this is the consequence. And it is also really important to share that often these tissues do get renewed. I know for myself, I was really emaciated the year before I started WildFit and really poorly nourished due to severe blood loss. So I was still rebuilding my tissues when I started WildFit, and I experienced really severe hair loss, like the kind that I did 8 months after my daughter was born, and I was freaking out. But now it grows back a lot faster and it is a lot stronger. So I often tell them, trust the process. This is part of the renewal. It is going to improve. But if you sense that it is a client who is striving too hard to release a lot of weight in spring, really trying to shift the conversation to optimizing health, making sure that they are eating enough, offering suggestions for good meals in spring, offering that they cycle out of spring to make sure that they renew all of those vitamins and minerals that might be lacking, and making sure that they are getting enough energy. We all know that when we're in ketosis, part of that energy is we have a lot of fat that we're burning, but it also can be very stressful on the body. So sometimes people, if they are not playing full out or shifting their psychology, it can just be stressful on the body, and they're producing adrenaline and cortisol in response to starvation. So we really, really want to be clear here. Are you eating enough? Are you getting enough of that fat? Are you making sure you have those vitamins and minerals? And often it comes down to having enough protein and a variety of proteins. So making sure they're not just eating steak or bacon or chicken. And especially with those vegetarians, are they having the small quantities of sprouted legumes? Are they making sure that maybe here they want to be supplementing, depending on the person, depending on where they are in the world? I know that you have a lot of experience. So I want to ask if you have a particular client or case study that we could discuss here, or if it's more general.
No, it's just more general. It's actually, well, I have somebody now asking, just starting to ask about it. And I just thought, so many times we see this thing. And so I'd like to try to preempt it and, talk to my groups of, if this is happening to you, this is some of the things you can do, be aware of. And all those things that you just listed were perfect. So that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay, awesome. And I find for myself as a coach, there's always a fine line. Like Eric does it somehow really well with talking to vegans about potentially eating more animal products. I myself, having lived as a vegan and a vegetarian and spending a lot of my time eating more plant-based meals and only really supplementing in meat when I feel like I need it, I kind of come from a different space. So I really want to support vegans and vegetarians if they are choosing that they don't want to have animal products. How can I really enable them to do that? And then it kind of becomes a conversation about how do I soak and sprout those legumes? How do I make sure that my lentils, chickpeas, and mung beans are of the highest quality and that I'm getting the most nutrition from them? And that can be really, really supportive.
That would have been my next question. So supporting vegetarians and vegans. Yeah.
And we always, I think of myself as kind of the yin to Eric's yang, right? Like Eric is forceful, opinionated, tons of energy, and the program is essentially what really worked for him. So as coaches, we can take it as, well, what's going to work for everyone, and really supporting our clients, knowing them really well in that space. Especially, we know that Mindvalley has these large cohorts and they're doing the large video only. So having the potential to take on these boutique style of challenges and really work with those clients in that way, I see it as a huge opportunity, because they're getting the information from Eric and they have the fundamentals, and we sort of provide the secret sauce in knowing them well and exactly how we can support them the best.
Definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome, Pamela. Thank you for bringing that up.
Do you have any, sorry, I'll just a little bit more. Do you have any resources on, I've seen you do a couple things on sprouting and the beans and that kind of thing. I haven't done that for a really long time. I don't know the nutrition value behind it, but that's definitely come up a lot too.
Okay. We did a call with Mary Valley, who is a naturopathic doctor. That is in the mastermind. The mastermind recordings are being cleaned up and organized. So hopefully that is easy to access. But I also have a resource on my website that needs to be updated about sprouting. So I can pop that into the group.
And what was the name? Mary who?
Mary Valley, Vallee.
I don't remember ever coming across that one. Okay,
so we were geeking out about sprouting, and she's really into she's I want to say she's vegetarian, and that's what we were discussing on the call is the potent nutrition of living foods. Yeah, so I think that would be really valuable to those clients, and also just the psychology of it doesn't have to be about these 3 months where you're releasing as much as possible. This is a lifestyle shift. This is a change in trajectory. How can we really support you in shifting your psychology so that you are befriending your body and loving your body instead of trying to restrict it? Petra, do you have anything to add? Petra's going to be supporting mainly in the chat here, but.
No, I don't think I have enough clarity about the question. I was just thinking that this may have been a Living Wildfit call and not a mastermind call, and I believe it's in the Living Wildfit area.
The Living Wildfit was the Wildfit for vegans and vegetarians that I did. Mary,
It doesn't matter. We can definitely look that up.
The Living Wildfit. We will find it. We will find it and we will post it.
And then the only thing is just like you never, until you try, you never know it. And there's kind of an art to sprouting. So at first, when you don't know anything about it, it's like, it looks too big. I don't know what I'm doing. And then just taking the first few steps, it can, it can just make more sense as you're doing it and as you're practicing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it at the moment, so and you can also actually, I think you can order it or access it in the sprouted form already. It might take a bit of researching to do that, but actually there was a time when I did this was before Wildfit, and I haven't done it in a while. I can get away with not doing it, so
thanks, Katja. Okay, Vivi, you have a call or question? Which call is it? I need to know.
Hi there. Honestly, when I heard about coaching support, I thought it's gonna be questions that we have according to what we are experiencing with our clients. But now that you said it's more like personal for us, like we can ask for ourselves in connection with Living Wildfit, I feel like I have a story. So I just want to share a little bit my experience, and maybe you can give me some hints to what can I do next. I've started Wildfit in February 2019. And my main why, it was because I wanted to solve my menstruation problem. My period was coming less and less, and the quantity was less and less. So that's why I started Wildfit. While doing Wildfit, I had only one period, and then when I went in deep spring, my menstruation stopped. And since then, since March 2019, it didn't come anymore. So that's something that I think psychically I'm struggling with. And I've been trying to go back to spring, but I felt really restricted and I feel my body is weak. Even with middle foods, I feel like probably it's a connection right now that spring is, because of spring, you don't have menstruation anymore. I know it's not like that because I used to have problems before. So it's not like Wildfit did it, but Wildfit made it in a way that it doesn't come at all anymore. So I feel I'm a little bit stuck. I'm also working with a homeopath a person that gave me a treatment, and I'm taking it for the last 2 months and a half. Nothing happened yet. But in Wildfit terms, what would you recommend me? For example, I told myself I'm not gonna go to spring anymore until my menstruation comes back. But sometimes I feel like I want that clarity. I want to experience spring again. And I'm a little bit like confused with how should I do, what should I do in Wildfit terms and seasons.
So when experiencing these kinds of really specific issues and kind of like, I've done the program, I still don't have an answer. Really what I recommend, and I've done this in the past for my own health issues as well, is to work with a coach who has nutritional background, or work with a naturopath, or work with a functional medicine doctor, because they are going to look at your health history. They are going to look at what has gone on in your genetics and really try to find the piece of the puzzle that might be missing. Because in these cases, there's no generic answer, and there really needs to be more information from that health history before providing an answer. So I'm not really able to say, oh, well, you just need to eat this or eat that, and it ought to be fixed in terms of the loss of menstruation. So really working with a homeopath is great if they are taking that health history into account. But really, I would find a professional who can figure out what the missing piece is. This might also be an opportunity for you to experiment with a really high quality nutritional supplement that's going to work at building your blood. And again, that's something that you would talk to someone specifically about. But often in these cases, it's a matter of your body is feeling imbalance or a lack of specific nutrients. So if you don't know the specific nutrient, you can offer your body a full spectrum of nutrients, and in that way, maybe the missing piece will be found without a professional. So you can do that with a really high quality liquid. It's kind of marketed towards iron, but it has a full spectrum of nutrients. A liquid green supplement might be really helpful. It's very potent and concentrated. You might also want to look into Shilajit, which is a fluvic acid compound. It's something that I use for building my blood and building my immunity. It has the full spectrum of 84 minerals. So if you don't have good water or your food is not of the highest quality, even if it is vegetables, often we're missing a lot of those minerals. So that could be something you want to look into, but definitely talk to someone who can help you find that missing piece. And we can use that for us as well. If they come to us with a really specific issue, maybe have a recommendation program with someone that you trust, a professional that you trust, if you don't have the training, or with another coach, so that you can make sure that they get the support that they need in that aspect. And then in regards to going into spring, there is an opportunity there to just take on gentle spring. If it's about offering your body some healing, offering a space where you can not focus so much on your food, know what you're eating, and find emotional and mental clarity in other places. So just taking on a gentle spring where you still have that huge variety and you are getting some carbohydrates in the form of squashes, especially in the evening, so that your body can work to build hormones overnight. That's often really important for people who are experiencing glandular dysfunction. So that would be my recommendation, is if you want to experience spring, just try a shorter period and maybe doing a gentle spring and seeing how your body responds and listening for that feedback. Your body is always giving feedback. So taking the opportunity to check in and listen.
Okay. Can you please write down the liquid green that you told me about in the building blood supplement?
I don't have a specific brand. I can't look into a good one for you. And with making these kinds of recommendations, guys, I've had ongoing conversations with Phoebe about this, so I can offer her something like this in coaching. We don't necessarily in the 90-day challenge want to jump in and say, oh, you should take this supplement, because in the 90 days, it's really about seeing what food can do on its own. But in Living Wild Fit, if someone is still having issues, at that point, we can, as coaches, offer some supplements short term that might be helpful to them as an individual, as long as we're always providing the principles of food first and then supplementation. So Shilajit is the mineral compound that I take that works for me personally. So you can research that. And then the liquid greens is just a green concentrate. So I can try to find a good one for you, but you are in New York, so maybe you won't have it, but I can at least send you in the right direction.
Yeah, that will help. My question would be, because in my group I have noticed that there were other girls who experienced the pause of the menstruation. I was wondering, why is this happening? Probably afterwards they got it back because they didn't have any main health issues like me. But like, I'm wondering, why is this happening?
So again, if we were in the wilds and food scarce, if we were in starvation, our body would stop menstruating because it senses that the body does not have the resources to produce a healthy baby. So if menstruation stops during the challenge, we really want to look at those clients and say, are you eating enough? How can I support you in making sure that you have a variety of nutrients in your meals? Are you getting enough fat? Fat is still a bad word for a lot of people. And if they don't go deep enough in the first 2 weeks and try to heal that relationship with fat, they'll hear Eric saying, eat an abundance of fat, but they'll be like, what is that abundance? And it might still just be a little sprinkle of olive oil or a few nuts, and they can still have fear around that. So really try, if you're sensing that, and like if they stop bleeding, that is a huge red flag that they need more. They need more food, they need more variety of food, and they really have to support their bodies with more fat in fat burning mode. And if it seems like they are not willing to heal that relationship, maybe it's just not the time, or they need more time, try to coax them into a more gentle spring where they can have more carbohydrates. It's an indication that they need more. And with their long-term health as a priority, we want to make sure that they're well nourished.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. Thank you so much, Ariel.
You're welcome. Mary, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, thank you for calling on me. Thank you so much, both to you and Petra, also for doing these calls. I was really excited. I really have felt like it's filling a space that was badly needed. So I'm really excited and encouraged about that. So a couple things. I do have, yeah, yay! I do have a question, but first I wanted to speak to a little bit to the hair loss issue that Pamela brought up. In my training also as a nutritional therapist, the other component that wasn't kind of talked about is that a lot of times, even sometimes you see those issues with someone that is still eating animal protein, but it has to do with digestive issues. If they've had long-term issues with not digesting, or if they're a vegetarian that's decided to start eating meat, often their body really isn't well equipped to be able to digest that animal protein, and they need to supplement with hydrochloric acid in order to be able to break down that animal protein, and also sometimes some digestive enzymes and some type of a bile supplement can help also with that digestion. So if you don't feel equipped as a coach to do that, that's again where you want to you would want to find a functional medical practitioner or somebody that's trained in being able to help restore digestion. But that's often a component of that. So anyway,
Absolutely.
Add those 2 cents.
Thank you.
Of course. So my question is, I would love, so I actually have a couple of questions. For me personally, in my own living wild fit kind of journey, I have really hit a hard wall in my own weight loss. I have a couple of times in my adult life gotten under 150 pounds, but my body does not want to do it right now. And I'm still breastfeeding. I don't know, in your opinion, I'm not one of those people that loses weight easily when I breastfeed. So I'm just wondering if I should just like not worry about that for right now, or anyway, it doesn't seem to matter how much I go into.
You're back.
I'm back. Sorry about that. It doesn't seem to matter how much I go into spring, or anyway, it's like it just really is slow. So I just love some feedback on that.
What I have found in my experience is that moms, especially moms with multiple kids, kind of the more kids you have, the more it happens. But the body makes a shift. And with that shift, it's like, okay, our job is now providing for little people and keeping those people alive. So the quantities of hormones that you keep in your body shifts. And estrogen especially provides that feedback loop where we store it in our lower belly, and the body is really hesitant to release it because it's in those fat cells that we produce more estrogen, right? So it can be really difficult to release those fat stores, the fat stores on our hips, outer hips, and the ones on the back of our arms and kind of behind our breasts. Those are
Yep,
the
you got it all right there.
Yeah, it's mama weight, and it's kind of like saving for a rainy day. It's one of those deep genetic coding things where the body is like, okay, if things get rough, I am going to be able to lactate and I'm going to feed these little people. And it needs fat. Fat is very compact usually, like it's a lot of really dense energy, as you know, in a very small package. So that's the rainy day fat. So to communicate to your body that we don't want to store that fat any longer, it really it can be when you stop breastfeeding, because then a shift does occur where your body is like, oh, okay, I'm not providing so much for the tiny humans, and now I can focus on self. But and then some housekeeping naturally does occur with that as well, and that's usually signified when you start a period again. Some people, they have a period while they're breastfeeding, and it's kind of like the body is transitioning into, okay, I'm cleaning house, preparing womb for maybe another baby. If a woman's body has more resources, usually that can occur if a woman's resources have been depleted through a pregnancy. And we're not really, I should say, I'm not really certain. I don't have the training, the specific hormonal training that a doctor to say what causes that. But some women, if their resources are depleted, they don't start bleeding for a while until the body signifies, okay, I'm good, I can make another human. So really, I would say once you stop breastfeeding, then focusing on that transition, because your hormones will be shifting. But at this point, exercise can be really a positive thing in shifting metabolism, in shifting hormones. So what are you doing for exercise right now? And Ricardo, I see your hand as well.
Interestingly enough, genetically in my family, women, we start menstruating almost immediately after having a baby. So I actually started my period while I think my baby was 7 weeks old, and while I was still on the challenge, which is kind of really annoying. Like I usually finish bleeding after the baby and then almost immediately start a period. But I have been working out pretty consistently since she was about 8 weeks old, and I work out. I probably do some type of weightlifting 2 to 3 times a week, and then I do walking and yoga the other days. So I work out. I do some sort of exercise almost every single day. So
Mm-hmm. So, first of all, amazing. Your body stores resources really well, and that's a really positive thing. It might not seem like a positive thing, but in regards to like health and long-term health, that's awesome. And the fact that you are moving your body and staying active, that's also amazing. So it might just be a matter of time and really having those hormones shift when you're no longer breastfeeding. Ricardo, also, you wanted to jump in on this subject, so I'm just going to open it up so we can.
Thank you. Well, I wish my wife was here watching this call, because I think she's going through something similar. During the wild feed, she lost 7 kilos, and now she's stuck and she can't release more weight. We have a baby, 8 months old, and another one, 2.5 years. She's not breastfeeding, but I keep asking her about her stress levels, which there are some stress, of course, sleepless nights and tired, both of us. So yeah, the reason that I thought was the having impact was the stress and the fact we don't sleep a lot and tired. But this answers a lot of questions, so I'll probably have her watching this call and I'll bring to her. But she's not breastfeeding, but she had a baby not so long ago, so maybe it's the same, similar.
I find, well, I'm not, like, a lot of you guys probably know this already, but with my WildFit coaching, as a coach, I mostly work with women, and it starts with the food, but it's never really about the food. There's something emotional attached to it, some really big barriers attached to it. So we use a lot of the emotional freedom technique and Reiki, which is energy therapy, and meditation, guided meditation recordings. So that's kind of the niche that I've carved out for myself as a coach. And often with women, especially moms, if weight release is stalled, if they've plateaued, often it's not about what they're eating, it's not about the exercise, it's really about something emotional that's happening. And I kind of hesitated to mention this on this call because it is a purely WildFit focused call. But often what I find with clients is that there's something maybe we're aware of or maybe we're not aware of below the surface. And it might be a fear, it might be a limiting self-belief, it might just be some stress that's locked up somewhere. So often in a private space with clients, what I do when they're not in a group is say, hey, do you maybe want to talk about this a little bit further? Sometimes even if we don't have the specific guidance, just giving them a space where they can focus on themselves instead of their tiny humans for a little while can be really, really healing for the physical body as well. And when those emotions and that stress is released somewhere without judgment, then the body can catch up and start releasing. So maybe that is helpful. And Ricardo, I'm happy that this has been helpful for your wife as well. And Mary, I'm not sure which niche you've carved out for yourself, but this is one that's, it's a lot of moms who are doing WildFit, a lot of people who are experiencing similar issues. And it seems to me that maybe this could be a fantastic niche for you, especially with your nutritional background.
Yeah, I think so too. So, I mean, mostly I've worked with women. I've had a few male clients, but mostly women at this point. So, and it's true that every single thing that you said, in fact, I just went, oh, this is probably related to, started jotting down stuff for me too. So, I love that. The guided meditations that you use with your clients, have you created those yourself?
Yes. So I just pick up a lot of their aha moments, or where they pause to reflect during our calls, or maybe something's come up. And then I create meditations for them focused on that. And then they use those meditations until our next session. I don't know if you guys notice this as coaches, especially beyond the 90 days, but clients have these fantastic breakthroughs in session, and they leave and they're so excited. They're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then that energy fades in the week or 2 weeks before we meet again, because they go back to real life. So having homework or having resources or accountability emails for them brings back the importance of what was discussed on the call. And it really creates that energy of getting back into their own healing before we meet again. So that's what I found is really useful with these meditations. It's like a reminder of what they discovered and why they need to continue doing what we've been doing.
That's really awesome. What a great idea. I had never thought of doing that. I really am a huge believer in meditation, and I meditate every day, but I love the idea of creating. How long are they usually for your clients? Like 10 minutes or?
10 minutes.
Okay. That's great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your feedback.
You are so welcome. I don't see any hands raised. Sharon, you said you recommend affirmation. That is fantastic. Michelle, hi.
Oh, I am unmuted. Thank you. Hi. Can I just say congratulations to you, Ariel, too, for all the beautiful work you've been doing on your book. I just think that's exciting.
Oh, thank you.
Come out in that space, so well done. Can I ask, I've got some potential clients that are ready to maybe come on board, but they both, weight is an issue in the sense that they cannot lose any weight. Like, you know, in fact, their doctor recommended that they've got lots of information, so they've gone off dairy and a few things anyway. And the doctor actually recommended that they go back on dairy, and that would help get the weight back up, and that, you know, a few things like that. So they've come to me and said, look, I'm interested in the program, but I can't lose any weight. What would you do for a client like that?
A client who does not want to release any weight.
Actually wants to
and
put
they
weight
do they
on.
want? She wants to put weight on.
He wants to put weight. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
wants to put weight on. So this is where having an intake form can be so helpful. Shout out to Ricardo for putting that resource in the group. That is amazing. I know that the back end HQ is working on the ability for you guys to have access to clients' intake forms, but in the time being, collecting that information yourself is of such high value, because then you know if a person has like hyperthyroidism, or their experience with high metabolism, or if it's like some people, they're just, I'm gonna mute you just for a second because I'm getting some feedback, and then I'll unmute you. Irina, an intake form, she's asking in the chat what an intake form is. That's just where you ask about health history, their age, their weight, their goals, any medications, especially like knowing about medications or illnesses or diseases, so that you have their background information before you start. Some people as coaches don't like to have that information because they're not comfortable talking about the health aspects, and collecting that information gives an indication that they are. So really it's up to you what you collect as a questionnaire, but having that questionnaire initially can be really helpful. And Irina, I was saying, Ricardo has just put something into the group that he uses with his clients. And I think that is amazing, so that you can use it as a template for your own clients. But what I found, Michelle, with with males especially who want to put on weight, often they tend to be just smaller humans. Generally, they're shorter, they're thin, and they want to be bigger. And we know that the body does not like to store extra weight unless it absolutely has to. So something is shifted, so there's a hormonal imbalance so that they start to put on excess weight, or in a case of healthy males in particular, but also females who are athletes who want to put on more weight, they want to retain muscle, and the body doesn't want to retain muscle. And that's really a question of their metabolism and kind of confronting the reality that with their genetic makeup, the body just doesn't want to store more weight. And then it becomes more about providing their body with the resources necessary so that they can do some heavy weightlifting and have that muscle stick. So knowing that going into the 90-day challenge with them, just focusing on having lots and lots of fruit when we introduce fruit, having lots of Alka-Geyser so that the body has all of those minerals and those healthy plant proteins. As we move into week 4 and dairy is not available, are they having enough nuts? Are they having enough seeds? Making sure that those foods are sprouted so that they're not getting a lot of those anti-nutrients that can come with having excess nuts and seeds in our diet. So just making a habit of soaking those nuts overnight on the counter and then using those activated nuts over the next few days or so to eat. So really just supplementing the natural human foods that are Wild Fit approved foods when we are taking a vacation from certain foods. Often these individuals, as soon as they see a slight drop in their weight, they become very hesitant to continue with the program. So just being 1 week ahead of them and saying, oh, make sure that you're having enough of this. Sometimes if we have a lot of people in our cohort who are looking to release weight, we speak specifically to them. So really just taking the opportunity to make sure that those who are looking to put on weight are heard and that they are acknowledged. I often speak to them first. And then they feel like, oh, okay, she gets me, she sees me, I'm not alone. And then we can go more into those who are looking to release weight after. So with the dairy specifically, we can say, like, you could say to that individual, well, yeah, dairy does help you put on weight because we see a baby cow putting on 200 pounds in its first year of life. But I'm guessing that you want to put on healthy weight. You want to be stronger. You want to be more fit. And dairy isn't necessarily going to give you that. It's going to give you excess fat primarily. So what would be great is healthier forms of protein, optimizing when you eat protein. So making sure that they're snacking before they go to the gym and then refueling with a really good meal that has the carbohydrates, the fat, and the protein after they work out so their body has the resources. And really, if possible, in the kindest way, remind them that each body is different, that the body doesn't like to carry an extra backpack of weight around. So if they're not using it in terms of continual fitness, they probably will lose that muscle that they've gained just because they have a body type that doesn't want to carry it around. So making sure they have enough healthy fats to support their ligaments and things after that heavy training, but ultimately making sure that they're heard. I will do this in a way, if I have a client who's speaking to me and saying, I really want to put on weight, I feel afraid, or maybe someone might not say afraid, but I'm hesitant to join because I don't know if that's going to happen for me, and say, oh, I hear you that you want to gain some healthy weight, probably some muscle, and then give them a case study of someone who did this really well. And then that provides assurance. Oh, I muted you. I'm sorry. I will unmute you.
I think stress is definitely a factor as well. And can I also ask another question about, you touched earlier on supplements, and I love what you said about how when you're living wild fit, you know, that there may be a case for that. We have a lot of discussion in New Zealand about the lack of essential minerals in soils and things like that, the lack of magnesium, selenium. And so there's a lot of talk about having to supplement because of the lack of minerals in the soils. Things like Protandim have started to make it big, the NRF2, those sorts of things. I just was wondering a take on that.
So this is kind of what I was saying to Vivi, is that, so minerals, and I touched on this in the Wild Fit for Vegans call, but minerals work in a wheel. So each mineral is closely tied to other minerals and they affect one another. So too much of something can deplete something else. And then when that's out of balance, then that pulls another mineral out of balance. So you can kind of think of it as pulling a thread. And once you pull that thread, you're not sure what's going to come undone. So even with a nutritional background, I would not recommend that someone supplements just selenium without knowing that they are in fact lacking selenium. And then I would only recommend that they take that for 8 weeks and then take a couple weeks off and see if the body is responding differently. So really short-term supplementation with specific minerals. Whereas if you offer a more broad spectrum multi-mineral and something that is naturally sourced, like the flevic acid, for example, in that way the body can take what it needs, but nothing is then being depleted by or thrown out of balance, rather.
Yeah.
So that would be what I would recommend, and it's absolutely true. Our soils are not what they used to be. So this is why we always source food as well as we possibly can. And if that's not an option, to get really high quality organic food that's grown in really good soil, then sometimes offering those whole food minerals and sometimes vitamins, but making sure that it is whole food sourced. Or in this, the one that I'm recommending is actually soil sourced, but that's what we need more of. So
yeah. Well, I thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Cheers.
You're welcome, my dear. Guys, I want to honor our time here. So that hour has come and gone quite quickly. I love that we are having these conversations. I love that we can offer each other support. I hope that we can continue the level of support that we have for one another in the coaching groups. I know that HQ and the master coaches love seeing that if someone jumps in there with a question, we have some coaches who are always there and ready to offer support and guidance, which is amazing. So let's keep these conversations going throughout the month. If something comes up and you feel that some problem solving was offered, but you haven't solved it yet, please come back and report back if possible if those suggestions helped or if they didn't help, because then maybe we can offer you something else. Sharon, I just want to touch on your question here. Can't see if Petra answered it. Sharon, a little bit about about the water retention. Did you answer that? No. Okay, so water retention, I will just say quickly, is something usually that's hormonal, but also Petra has answered this really, really well in the coaches group before. Often if the body is holding water, it's because it's severely dehydrated. Our cells can't take on, each of our cells is its own compact little universe, if you think about it that way. And it only wants specific things in there and only wants specific things coming out of there. So it's like a really tight border is happening. And each cell works really hard to make sure that things don't enter that shouldn't. So through the process of osmosis, if a lot of water entered those cells too quickly, they would explode. So it could just be that those clients are really dehydrated and the body wants to hold that water because it's like, I need this, but I'm not ready to take it on intracellularly yet. So just give me a little bit of time. And often we have a huge water flush. So it can be uncomfortable for a short period of time, but then the person does flush out the excess water and they often feel and look a lot healthier after that process. So it is just coming back to the basics and the principles of trusting the process and allowing the body to do what it needs to do and not reacting short term to things that are happening, but allowing that cycle to come full circle, and just shifting out the timeline, not allowing things to happen immediately, but over the course of some weeks or some months, because that's where the body is comfortable operating. Maybe we can find that post for you, or you can search it, water retention, and see what comes up, because there's a great conversation that happened there. Guys, I talk a lot, I'm sorry. Thank you for being here with us. Really looking forward to next month's call and the wisdom that Petra shares on that call. Thank you for being so supportive of your community. For those of you watching the recording, if you have questions after, just refer to what part of the call you have questions about or need clarity on, and we can answer you in the group. Guys, we're awesome and we're rocking it and we are changing lives. And I love seeing those posts from coaches where they share just, you know, someone's life has changed completely because of your help and guidance. So thank you so much for putting that love and support out into the world. Keep being amazing. And we will see you in the Facebook group. All right. Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Wonderful to see everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Next week, next month. Bye.
So
Thank
good.
you.
Take care, guys.
This was really empowering, and I really appreciate you guys doing this for us.
Thank you, Pamela. Angela, before we end, I just want to save the chat. All right, done. So now I can review. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.